Do you ever hear that little voice inside your head, the one that whispers, you're not good enough, you're going to fail, or who do you think you are to even try that? It's the same voice that shows up when you're about to take a big step in your life, and instead of cheering you on, it keeps holding you back. And maybe you've tried to quiet it, you tried to ignore it, but somehow, no matter what you do, it gets louder. And especially when you're about to level up and do something important in your life, you've got big dreams, right? Big goals. But this inner critic is like an invisible wall that's standing between you and where you want to be. And every time you take a step forward, that voice convinces you to take two steps back. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone because so many of us stay stuck because of this inner dialogue, letting that voice dictate what we can or what we can't achieve. And then what's worse is that we start believing it. It feels like no matter how hard we try to push forward, that critic in our head always finds a way to sabotage our progress. But what if I told you that you can silence that voice? Stop it from holding you back and finally move forward towards the version of yourself that you are meant to be. In this video, we're going to talk about how your inner critic is secretly holding you back, but maybe not so secretly, and keeping you from reaching your full potential. And most importantly, how to silence it once and for all. I'll be sharing with you some powerful strategies that you can start using today to quiet that voice and to take back your control and move forward with confidence. But first, do me a favor. As you're listening to the video, drop a comment with any questions that you have, and I'll make a video specifically addressing your question. I want this journey to be as fun as possible, and so let's get back to it. Let's start with the source. Where does this inner critic even come from? It wasn't there when you were a kid, right? You weren't born thinking, I'm not good enough or I can't do this. That voice developed over time and it comes from experiences, maybe a teacher, a parent, a past failure, whatever it is, but it now shows up every time you try to step outside of your comfort zone. Here's the thing, your inner critic, it often disguises itself as if it's protecting you, and it says things like, you just embarrass yourself if you do that. Or if you try, you will only fail. And so we listen thinking that we're avoiding pain, when in reality, we're just holding ourselves back. And it gives us a false sense of safety, but it keeps us trapped. What does this voice cause you? You hold back, you play small, you stop taking risks. Your inner critic has you doubting every decision, and then before you even know it, you have built a comfort zone so tight that there's absolutely no room to grow. You start settling for less than you deserve, less than what you're capable of, and less than what your dreams require. And let's be real, even if you've ever wanted more from your life but felt too afraid to reach for it, it's likely because your inner critic convinced you that it was safer to not try. And staying stuck isn't safe, it's actually suffocating. Now, let's talk about something else crucial, which is how you speak to yourself. How you judge other people is how you judge yourself. If you are harsh with others, you're likely going to be harsh with yourself. But if you're kind to others, you guessed it, you're also more likely to be kind to yourself. Think about it, like whatever fears you have around stepping out and doing something new are often tied to how you think about people who are already doing it. For example, like let's say you see somebody posting content online and then you start thinking they're too loud or they post too much and you view them negatively. Now, when it's time for you to put your own content out there, you're worried that people are going to judge you in the same way. But what if you shifted your mindset? What if you instead said, wow, this person is posting content, they're taking the first step. I know it might feel awkward or feel cringy for them, but I'm so proud of them for trying. When you do that, you start to feel the same way about yourself. You're giving yourself the grace and permission to now post during your own cringe season and to push past the fear of judgment that you pretty much gave other people. You see how that worked? In reverse. The first step in silencing that inner critic is awareness. You got to recognize that voice for what it is. It's an outdated belief system, it's not the truth. And the next time it shows up, don't accept it. Question it. Ask yourself, is this really true? And most of the time, you will find that it's just fear talking and that it's not really your reality. And then once you're aware of this, you can start silencing it. But one of the best ways to do this is action. Every time you take action, despite their voice, you weaken its power. You're sending a message that you're in control and not the fear, not that inner critic. And then after awareness comes the challenge. When your inner critic tells you you're going to fail, ask it, but what if I succeed? If it says you're not good enough, remind yourself of the times when you've proven yourself that you are good enough. Actions, receipts. You have to flip the script. The more you do this, the weaker the critic becomes. Another way to challenge your inner critic is by changing your focus. Stop focusing on all of the worst case scenarios and start asking yourself, what is the best thing that could happen? Because when you think in terms of growth and possibility, your inner critic has less room to operate. It makes it that much more smaller and close off its oxygen. Your inner critic feeds off of fear of failure, rejection, being judged. But what if instead of focusing on the fear, again, you focus on the possibility? Every time you feel that voice creeping in, take a step back and ask yourself, what's the opportunity here? When you start thinking in terms of opportunity, that fear begins to shrink. And here's a big one. You've got to be kind to yourself. So many of us are our own worst critics. We tear ourselves down every step we can, every mistake, every misstep. But if you keep doing that, the inner critic only gets stronger. And so you have to replace that self criticism with self compassion. Speak to yourself the same way you would speak to a friend. If a friend came to you upset about making a mistake, would you tear them down or would you encourage them? Do that same for yourself. Be gentle. When you fall short, give yourself permission to grow and give yourself grace. And as you silence the critic, you're going to also need to replace those negative beliefs with empowering ones. Start affirming who you want to be, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Tell yourself, I am capable. I am worthy. I can handle this. It might not feel true in the beginning, but over time, these affirmations are going to start replacing the old limiting beliefs and thoughts that the inner critic tried to get you to believe. And the truth is that this critic is held you back long enough. But now you have the tools to silence their voice and to move forward. By recognizing it, challenging it, and choosing self compassion, you can finally break free and live the life that you are meant to live. If this video has resonated with you, I want you to hit that subscribe button, y'all. Like I always say, I enjoy making this content, but it helps a whole lot. And when I know that it brings y'all joy too. So comment below, tell me what's one thing that your inner critic has been holding you back from and how are you going to change it? And now that you're in the process of silencing that critic, it's time to take things to the next level. Because once you quieted that voice of doubt, you're finally free to start reinventing yourself. But there's one thing, reinvention doesn't just happen overnight. It is a step-by-step process that can take you from where you are now to the version of yourself that you've always desired and dreamed of becoming. In my next video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to reinvent yourself in just 90 days. If you've been feeling stuck or like the life you want is just out of reach, trust me, you do not want to miss this. I'll be breaking down all the things so that you can finally make the changes that you've been dreaming about. Until next time, live your life full of joy and keep the faith.